A beautiful flag here that is flying right side up. So I can't stand it when people fly that flag upside down. That's disgraceful and disgusting to me. Charles Van Morgan Show, welcome, welcome. Come on in. Welcome from other countries. I'm sure you adore your flag too. So got a great show for you today. The Charles Van Morgan Show. Come on in, welcome. Got a great show for you today. We're going to do a recap of the show we started yesterday. Going to talk to you about some real interesting things about the Central Intelligence Agency. We can tell what's going on by proxy, by watching what happens by science. And we're going to tell you some real important things that are going on, what this nation and this country and the people in the know are concerned about by their actions. So we might as well sit in the Central Intelligence Agency meeting and know what's going on by what they're actually doing. Actions speak louder than words. So come on in, like, share, and comment. Got a great show for you. So we're going to tell you, just like we're sitting right beside the Central Intelligence Agency officer Ratcliffe as he is giving a message to Donald J. Trump. We're going to tell you what they're saying. Hopefully y'all can hear me. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. We'll head down to our signature location, Charles Van Morgan Show. We're going to tell you what's going on in the Central Intelligence Agency. We're going to get inside a security briefing, just like we're sitting beside Donald J. Trump. Now, not really, but the same information, and we're not giving out anything that's hidden or secret for YouTube purposes that we shouldn't. But come on in, welcome. Can y'all hear me? Somebody let me know in the chat. So welcome, welcome. The Charles Van Morgan Show live, broadcasting live. Hello, Betty and Gerald 5255. Hello, thank y'all. Can y'all hear me? So we're going to tell you what's going on in the national security, what the people in the know, in power, are concerned about as far as the United States national security. And we can tell by the things they're doing. So we did a show about this yesterday, but not many people because of the time of day. And also we got interrupted by the city police department. So if you want to see how Charles Van Morgan handles the police, then when they act rude, then you'll see it. So nothing against them. They just need to learn how to do the job a little better. You know, as far as police goes, and I'll interject this, the new ones on the road are the ones that are dangerous. The one that drives the older cars, if you're all across this nation or wherever you're at, the ones that drive the older cars are the newer officers, and they haven't figured out what they're doing yet. So be very careful with them. The ones that are driving the brand new cars have been on the department for years and years and years. You know, they've been there, done that, got some experience. I know what they're doing. Hey, you don't necessarily let your guard down, but they're wanting to fight crime the best they can, stay 6 foot above ground, and they won't mistreat you. The new ones are the dangerous ones. The ones driving the older cars, they pull up, watch out. And I had a little experience with them yesterday, so watch the video. So hang on board. We got a real good show for you. We're going to talk about, just similar to us sitting in a Central Intelligence Agency meeting, and worldwide, this is important to y'all too. We're not giving away any secret information because it's not secret information. It's very obvious. But we might as well be sitting right next to Donald J. Trump and Ratcliffe, if I'm pronouncing his name right, and we can tell you with a high degree of certainty what the people in power and the Central Intelligence Agency is concerned about. Now, they have information that is better than it's ever been as far as keeping this nation safe because of computers and advanced knowledge, and they know where the dangers lie in keeping America safe, keeping the citizens safe. And we can tell you beyond a reasonable degree of certainty the things that they know that are a threat to America, that are a threat to us. And how do we know this? Well, it's just science. It's by proxy, as the title says. The way we know this is because It's not what people say, it's what they do. So we can tell what is important to America based on the real threats, because if something's not a threat, you don't do anything about it. But you can tell what the threats are by what they're doing. And we know what they're doing. We're going to tell you what they're doing. Some things that are very alarming and astonishing. The threats to America are real, and our government officials are trying to deal with it the best they can. And we're going to tell you what the dangers are in America. Now, we are in the end times, in my view, the end times before the being caught up, and the end times of the world as we know it, because of the signs in the Bible. And the Bible predicts, and even if you don't believe the Bible, times are getting bad. People are more and more wicked. Things are worse and worse. People are so deceptive. You can't believe anything you hear, and you have to see it yourself or have a trusted source. So that is the circumstance and the situation we're in. And there's a lot of threats out there. And I know what the threats are, and I'm getting ready to tell you worldwide what the threats to America are. Within a reasonable degree of certainty, and I'll explain that to you how I know and how you can know. Something you can be on the watch later on your own. You don't even have to have me tell you. You can see, because it's similar to a political campaign. Now, the ones that have money, they do surveys. And I'm explaining to you how I know this information that I know, which is very important. And I'm going to tell you the threats to America. So hang on board, stay on board. You're going to learn the threats, the real life threats to America. And I'll tell you how I know what they are. Might as well be sitting in an intelligence briefing with Donald J. Trump, because I know what he's doing. But if you have a political campaign, and these political campaigns have a lot of money, and they do surveys and ask people what's important on their mind as far as someone running the government in the position that they're running. For example, the Tennessee governor's race is in full effect right now. Several candidates, and they do surveys and find out. It costs a lot of money. They do surveys, not that much, but they do surveys, and they question voters about what's important to them, what they want in a government official, or what issues in the office that people like Marshall Blackburn are running, the governor of Tennessee, what they're interested in and what they want to see happen. And these political candidates survey those people, and they ask them, and specifically they want the people that go vote, because they're the ones that decide the election. There's a lot of people on the register to vote, but they don't ever vote. They're registered to vote, but they don't go vote. They don't decide elections. So quite frankly, the people running for office, Marshall Blackburn, isn't concerned about those. They don't decide the election, so they don't matter that much. They're concerned about people that get up and go to the polls early voting and cast a vote. They're concerned about what they think. So they ask them questions, send out surveys, and say, what do you think about immigration? What do you think about national security? And they answer them on scales, and they have all kinds of scientific mathematical formulas to find out and question people based on surveys, what they think. And they also do research like on social media, find out what people are posting, to find out what they believe in, so they can get an indication of what pulls people's strings, what they can say to affect people in the way that they want to appear like they're on their side. They have all this statistical data information that they survey and find out information. And then when it comes to running their campaign, They know what to tell people because they've asked people and they've done research on people's lives, and they know how they feel about things, and they know how they think about things generally. And so they can say safely that I am for deporting illegal immigrants if that's what the people that go to the polls want. They want enforcement of immigration. So when they get up to speak, although there's mass protests, they can say safely that we need to legally and safely deport illegal immigrants, because they know that the people that are protesting aren't voters. The people that vote want that. So they can safely say that. Or among a lot of other issues. So I don't have the money to do those big fancy surveys and find out what people are thinking and how they feel, so I can tell them right back that hey, I believe the same thing you do. Vote for me and I'll enact the policies that you want. And I'll tell them the policies that they want, because if I did the survey, I know. And surveys are statistically correct. It's math. You don't have to survey everybody to find out what's going on in the population. You can just get a sample, an accurate sample. Of course, the more the sample you get, the more accurate. You can just get an accurate sample, and it'll tell you what's going on in the whole population. So you don't have to survey everybody, just enough of them to get an accurate sample, and it's mathematically correct. The reason why we can do stuff like that is because there's no such thing as evolution. People didn't evolve. Just go by whatever survives. That's not the way it works. That's not the way God made things. God made things like with DNA, with organization and design, not just randomness. Because when you have organization and design, then it has established patterns that you can measure. If you have just randomness, which is what evolution teaches, survival of the fittest, which is not accurate at all. People teach that evolution is scientific. No, it's not. What's scientific is organization and design, a creator. And that's how science is based. You can measure things not because it's chaotic, it just got here by chance, because God created it, organized it, and there's a design to things. And that's how math, that's how you can test things. So all these scientists that don't believe in God, how do they believe in science? I mean, I believe in science because God made everything with an organization that we can look at and find the patterns. So I mean, that's just something that these fancy people that believe in evolution and can lead you on all these leaps have a long way to go to convince me of anything. They don't know what they're talking about. But statistically, through numbers, because there is patterns, because God in his infinite wisdom designed things and organized it, then we can design and organize surveys, and we can know things based on patterns. We can predict the future to a certain degree of accuracy based on math, based on science. They do that with the weather every day. Now, sometimes they're wrong, but with a certain degree of accuracy, we can predict the future if we get the patterns right. So I can predict with a certain degree of accuracy, pretty close to just sitting right there in the meeting with Donald Trump, by science, by recognizing patterns. And I'm about to tell you a pattern where I'm going to tell you what is in the Central Intelligence Agency, what these people are concerned about, which is some real good information you might want to stand by. This is Charles Van Morgan, Unbridled News. I'm not going to tell you the propaganda, which is another subject we'll talk about. That tells you another story you need to know about. I'm going to tell you the unbridled truth. What's America's real threats? What should we really be concerned about that might destroy this country, might end its existence? And it could be ended. Very well could be. America is not a sure thing. It's a democracy. And according to Thomas Jefferson, if we can keep it, we might not be able to. And there's some threats out there, and I'm going to tell you what they are. Tell you from the Central Intelligence Agency, and I know by what they're doing, not by the propaganda you hear. And just like I don't have the money to do surveys that Marsha Blackburn does, but I can know what her surveys are telling her without even reading them, without even looking at that. By what she says in her political campaigns, she reads the surveys. She reads every one of them. And her political people read the surveys, and they read the surveys, and then they tell Marsha Blackburn reads them. And then she, according to that information she's got from the public, she tells them back what they want to hear based on what they've told her. It's science. So based on what the voters, not all the people that are on the roster, she don't speak to them. She don't want to make enemies out of them, but she's talking to people that go to the polls and vote. What they've told her, she tells them back that. The things that are important, without me even reading her surveys, are immigration, because she's running on immigration. She's running on getting rid of woke policies. Listen to her commercials. And she didn't just think of that stuff, but she's telling voters, I'm for this, I'm for that, just off the top of her head. She listened to voters. That's what they told her was important, and she's telling them back. So I know what that survey says by what she's saying to voters. What she's saying back to voters is what is in that survey, because she's repeating it back to them. So I can listen to her. I can listen to her political campaign, her advertisements, and tell you what's in the surveys without even looking at the surveys, because she's telling me what the surveys are, because she's repeating it back to the citizenry, trying to get their votes. Similarly, I don't have to be in President Trump's secret intelligence agency meetings to know what threats to the United States are. I can tell by his actions what he does, the actions he takes to protect America, to know what's the real threats to America. And some of them are very alarming. There's a very real threat of nuclear war. And you can tell, just like I'm sitting there in the meeting, listening to Ratcliffe and his experts of people that know information about other countries. They have spies. They have all this intelligence gathering information. And they have uncovered a very real threat of nuclear annihilation in the United States. You say, how do you know that? Now, I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm not saying that will happen. I'm saying they're taking measures to make sure that it doesn't, because it is a possibility, a very big one. Now, don't be afraid. Trust in the Lord. If you're not, heart's not right with God, make it right. Ask the Lord Jesus Christ to come into your heart, and let this world not be your home. Just pass through, because this world's not a safe place. It's not a safe place at all. If you get in a facade and you get used to being the way they are and think they'll always be that way, no, they won't. They may not. This country may not be here in the next few years. It may, but it may not. There are things that our government needs to do to protect us. And I can tell you what the threats to America are, just like I was sitting in the meeting. Let's see if we got any people in here. I'm going to tell you what the rest of them are. One of them is nuclear war, nuclear annihilation of America. I'll tell you why I know that and how it's simple if you just look at it. And we talked about this stuff yesterday, but we didn't finish it, and we're going to finish it some more. And obviously it's important because you need to know the threats, not to be afraid, but we have stuff we can do to protect America, and I'm going to tell you what they are, and we'll tie it together. So keep listening, join in, thank y'all. And another thing, before I check, see if people in here, hopefully you can hear me, is we're at war, and you can tell, just like I was sitting in the Central Intelligence Agency meetings, we're at war in America, and I'll tell you what that is. I don't have to be in the meeting to hear it, but I know from what's going on from science, and I'll tell you what that war is and what it's about and how I know it is, and you can figure out whether or not you think it is or not too. It's called reading between the lines, looking at the facts and how things play out, and putting that with science, and it'll tell you. Let's see how many people got in here. Thank y'all for joining. We'll continue this dialogue. Very interesting enlightenment, unbridled news, the real truth you won't hear on any other channel. They don't think through things. We do. So thank y'all for joining. Let's see what we got in here. So yeah, we got quite a few. Thank y'all very much. Good morning, Charles. Good morning. So the threat to America, nuclear war, nuclear annihilation of America. Now, in the end times, things are going to get bad, the Bible predicts. And we're going to go through some of that stuff when I get to the bridge, some of the notes I got. So this isn't off base. Things are going to go bad. They're going to go bad. We just don't know in what direction. They're going to go south. They are. Things are going to go south. And maybe the United States will be a little protected, and maybe it won't. But I can assure you, things are going to go south in the world. And they already are, pretty south, pretty bad. And so these things are threats that we need to protect. One of them is nuclear war. Now, how do I know nuclear war is a threat? Because it's real obvious. It's very obvious. You look at it, make sure don't fall down. It's real obvious that nuclear war is a threat. I could be sitting in a meeting with Ratcliffe and all his people, Central Intelligence Agency in the United States of America, right beside Donald Trump, and this is what I would be hearing. This is what you would be hearing if you're in that meeting. I'm going to tell you how we know. Because they're telling that to Donald Trump. He's listening to him, and he's taking actions to protect this country against nuclear threat. Now, what's he doing? You look. He sent bombers over to Iran and bombed Iran's nuclear facilities where they're trying to get nuclear weapons to probably annihilate the United States. Now that was to help Israel, but I believe that the main reason was not to help Israel. It was to help Israel. It helps them too. But the main reason that Donald J. Trump sent bombers just a few months ago over to Iran was because they had information that said that Iran was on the verge of nuclear capability and they would attack America. That was probably very likely to happen, and that's what he was told in that meeting, and that's what I'm telling you. So nuclear annihilation of the United States, if Iran gets nuclear weapons, is a threat to the United States, a very serious one. That's probably what's going to happen if they get nuclear weapons. That's why Donald J. Trump risked complete chaos in the Middle East to bomb them, because it depended on our very existence. And that's why he did that. So that's a real threat to America. Not just them, not just Iran. Nuclear war, nuclear threat is significant. And there are several countries that have nuclear weapons. And you look at Vladimir Putin. Now he's attacked Iran. Excuse me. He's attacked Ukraine. And he's in cahoots with Iran. And Putin has attacked Ukraine. Just a few short months ago, in the other administration, we had a president that landed on the soil in Ukraine, backing up Ukraine, a country that doesn't have nuclear weapons, and siding with the country. And I'm not talking about the moral issues. I'm talking about nuclear threat and the reality of it. Siding with the country against the country that has nuclear capabilities. That is dangerous, very dangerous for America. Now, my heart goes out to Ukrainians. They need to fight like hell for their country. And Americans need to fight like hell for America. And if it's important to us, we'll keep our country sovereign. If it's important enough to Ukraine, they'll shed their blood. Americans shouldn't shed their blood for foreign soil, for foreign countries. That's on them. They might not even want a country bad enough to do that. And apparently they do, and I'm not running that down Ukraine. I'm just telling you nuclear threat is a real possibility. Now, the other administration was very careful in how he dealt with things, but he stepped over the line a couple of times. I think shaking his fist in Putin's face, which is very dangerous, could have been annihilation of this country. Was even mentioned, you know, that we're dealing with nuclear war. Now, it didn't happen. Thank the Lord, praise God. But that is one of the reasons that I voted for Donald J. Trump. And even if you're against Trump, just listen to this. We had an American president going to a country that was being invaded by nuclear power. A nuclear power was invading Ukraine that didn't have nuclear weapons. I'm not talking about morals. I'm talking about survival. Survival. And you need to help yourself before you help your neighbor. And I'm all agree with Ukraine. They need to fight like hell. And whatever we can do without endangering America, I would do. But if you endanger America, I don't agree with that. And it was endangering America. Now, that's a real nuclear threat. Trump's getting that in his meetings. Now, Donald Trump, this is the reason why I know, I'm talking about actions, how I know what's a threat. Nuclear war is a real bad threat right now. It's hot as hell, worse than it's ever been in the history of mankind. This country might be annihilated by nuclear weapons. So don't be afraid. Trust the Lord. I'm not scaring you. I'm telling you the unbridled truth because of facts. I don't have to be in the meeting. I see what he's doing. You know, it's as simple. Everybody knows this. It's not what you say. It's what you do. Where you walk. You can say you're going to California and walk east from Tennessee, and you won't get California. You'll get South Carolina. You can say whatever you want to do. I don't care what you say. I care what you do, where you're walking, where you're going, your actions. Actions speak louder than words. And look at the actions of the federal government, of the administration. They have intelligence information, secret intelligence information that we don't know about. But we can know it because of their actions. They take actions on information that's a real threat. They're taking actions just a few months ago on the threat, a lot of actions, a lot of activity involving nuclear war, nuclear threat, prevention of it. They're trying to prevent it. They're same people trying to prevent a very real threat to nuclear war. I know that Iran stopped the bombing of Iran facilities, stopped them from developing a nuclear bomb that was going to be sent to America. I believe that was going to happen. It has been stopped for now. Russia. Yeah, this ain't a hoax. The Russia nuclear weapons could end up sent to America. That's not a hoax. But how do I know that? I'll tell you how I know it. It's real simple. Look what Donald J. Trump is doing. Now, the news media spins it bad. And Donald Trump's told you the truth. The people in America should want him to get along with Putin. They very well should. He's got a nuclear weapon. You are at a bank. This is how it is. This is reality. You're at a bank. I'm not telling you what's right or wrong. I'm telling you reality. We really have to stay alive and trust in the Lord and do right. But I wouldn't jump in front of gunfire to witness to somebody. I'd wait till they got the gun down and then try to do it safely, you know. So if you're in a bank and a robber comes in, you're behind the teller and points a gun at you, tells you to give them all your money, are you going to defy that person? They got the gun on you. Putin's got a nuclear button that does work. And back a few months ago, he wasn't very happy with America because he's trying to take over a sovereign nation. He's a very wicked man. Very wicked man. I'm sure Americans have more intelligence on him than we know. All other presidents have called him out for what he is. That evidently worked. We didn't get blown up. But in the future, and Donald Trump has said, don't you want me to get along with Putin? Don't you want a president that gets along with a nuclear power? I do. So Donald Trump, and the news media says that he's friends with him. He loves a dictator. No, I think he wants to keep America safe. He's listening to the Central Intelligence Agency. I know they're worried about a nuclear bomb coming from Russia, several of them, and hit the United States, because just like you're in a bank and being robbed, the gun's on you. Are you going to argue with a bank robber or comply to a certain amount as far as you can because they got the gun on you? A nuclear threat, they got a gun. That's a powerful tool in bargaining, and you shouldn't overlook that. Donald Trump has laid out the red carpet, if you've seen on national news the other day, made fun of him for doing that for Putin in the United States of America. I think it was in Alaska. Why do you do that? Because Donald Trump loves Putin and he loves that he's a dictator and a ruthless killer and he thinks highly of him? I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that for 10 seconds. And you shouldn't either. I believe that he did that because Putin is a bank robber. He's got a gun. It's a nuclear weapon. And Trump is trying to get along with him. Now, it's not quite the same exact circumstance, but it's similar. He's got a gun. And he's not attacking us. He's not trying to annihilate America. He's trying to annihilate Ukraine. And I feel bad for them. And any way America can help them surreptitiously without getting Americans killed or hurt, then we need to do that. We need to do that. But he's rolling out the red carpet because of the Central Intelligence information. Russia's got a nuclear weapon. We need to try to get along with them. Roll the red carpet out. Be good to them. We don't want war. We want peace. Show them that means first. No one's going to win a nuclear war. It's going to be devastating, and they might win it if they fire first. And we don't fire our weapons, and nobody's going to win that. And they might be the only ones alive. So I'm just telling you the facts that inside the Central Intelligence Agency in a briefing with Donald J. Trump, they're telling him nuclear war is a high probability and very high, and they're taking a lot of measures to prevent that. In the Bible, in the end times, it talks about a fervent heat ending the world, which is a nuclear weapon. So that might happen. Now, I'm not saying it will. I don't know. But I do know this. I believe for a fact, based on activities of the federal government of Donald J. Trump, in several different areas, he has made actions, dramatic actions, that are aimed at stopping a threat of nuclear war, getting America annihilated. Now, if going over and bombing another country, it wasn't for Israel, it's for America. It did help Israel, and that's one of the reasons, but that wasn't real high on the scale. He rolled out the red carpet for Putin, not because he loves him, he just worships and idolizes him, as the news media would want to portray. It's because they are a nuclear threat, and he's trying to resolve that where we can live and they can live without blowing each other up, rolling out the red carpet, putting the olive leaf out there, trying to be friends with him. Because not the false propaganda of the news media, the truth is that we were on the verge of a complete and total nuclear disaster, nuclear war with Russia, and they would have done it. Look what they're doing to Ukraine. Rolling out the red carpet is a means to try to prevent that. It wasn't out of the goodness of Donald Trump's heart that he loves Putin. It didn't have anything to do with that. It has to do with the preservation of America, information he got from his Central Intelligence that evidently the previous administration was playing with. And they even were concerned about it, but they were not concerned enough. They left millions of dollars of weaponry in another country and pulled out of another country disastrously. So they weren't very effective in their managing threats to America, tiptoeing on nuclear disaster. And even the president even said that when he was running for president, if you don't elect me, you're going to have a nuclear war. He said that. So that's one threat. Now, there's more. Hang on. There's more threats. That's just one of the most devastating. But there's more. There's more than one way to take over a country. One is to wipe it out. There's another way. And it has to do with a different kind of messaging so that I know this through a different means. And this means is very, very simple to figure out if you understand war, if you understand combat. And when people think of combat, they think of mortal combat. They think of going and shooting and killing and stabbing, and they think of mortal combat. They think of war like Vietnam. But there's another kind of combat. And when it's going on, you know there's an active war. There's an active war when you have this kind of combat going on. And there's a kind of combat going on, and this is dramatic. Listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. If you don't agree with me, hear me out. It's very important for you to hear this. God sent me, Charles Van Morgan, to say this. Wouldn't let me in a courtroom, wants me out here doing something more important, informing the citizenry what's going on by using my brains, by using my head, by using my knowledge, my God-given common sense. And some of it's not common sense. Some of it's counterintuitive. But this is plain as day, a bell's ringing, ding, 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 this is going on. Hello, wake up, America. The enemy of America is right now alive and well in American cities all across this nation. And I'll tell you how I know how. They're right here, right now. An enemy of America. It's not a nuclear threat. It's another form of enemy attack against America. And it's a vital attack, live and well, right here in our cities, right here, right now. And let me tell you how I know. You look at war. You look at war. War involves more, and there are telltale signs of war. Everybody knows there's a war when the federal government says, we have declared war. There's wars and fights and invasions without the federal government declaring war. There's other signs of war that are more telling. It doesn't take the federal government to tell me that there's an active war going on in America. I can tell, and I'll tell you how to understand it, by the messaging. Now, I know Donald Trump sitting right next to Rakoff and the Central Intelligence people getting all this information that they have that's advanced knowledge. And it's real and it's true. And he's telling Trump and telling our administrators in the government to have these secret meetings to try to protect America. And there's other things going on too, and we're going to cover them. But they're talking about this threat that's alive and well in America. Now, they're not declaring war on paper, but they've declared one in reality. And previous administrations did the same thing, but not to the same level because it has gotten to be an active war. It wasn't as much of a threat as it is now. And it's a real threat that could really take down this country and it not exist in the end times. It's not mentioned in the Bible, and I'm just telling you maybe why. And I don't know if it's why, but I know there's an active war going on in the United States of America right now, in this country, live and well, thriving. How do I know that? Let me tell you how I know. War is not just mortal combat. It's not. War is messaging. Sun Tzu, a historic figure in war, won many wars, wrote a book on war, tactics of war. And the worst tactic of war is actually having to go to combat against the other side, having to shed blood, having to fire weapons, bullets, and nuclear. That's the worst part of war. When you get to that point, you haven't been successful. That is a last measure. That's the last measure, the physical warfare. the mortal combat is the part when you have to do that or you're going to get annihilated. And that's going on in America now to a large extent. You see that every day. It's not called that, but it's mortal combat for the very survival of the country, the United States of America. Mortal combat going on in our streets. The reason I know there's a war going on in America is the mortal combat going on. I'll tell you exactly what that is. And also the messaging from the enemy. Sun Tzu, you try to peacefully get the enemy to surrender by propaganda. Propaganda, that's false information, and it has a lot of different methods. There's a lot of different types of propaganda. The goal of messaging from the enemy is to get the other side to surrender or to believe something tactically where they can annihilate you. And there is propaganda. Anywhere there's a large-scale propaganda going on, there's a war going on. Anywhere there's large-scale false propaganda, there's a war going on. And there also can be mortal combat, and that's going on too. Now, what's the war in America? You look at the messaging that's going across in America, propaganda. The military in America has a ops unit that is specifically for messaging. They actually have an intelligence unit that has capabilities to put out a message to the other side. They don't have, they have weapons, but their main function is information warfare, is information. So they put out a message to the other side trying to get them to surrender. So that's a live, effective tactic of warfare. And anywhere you see messaging, you say war. So in wars, America has airplanes, and they'll fly airplanes and put out millions of leaflets across the country, leaving leaflets, messages where people can pick it up and read it. So in a war, in an active war zone, or prior to a war, they send messages to the other country. Propaganda, sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. Trying to get the enemy to fulfill a tactic that you want them to fulfill so that you don't have to shoot at them, because that risks you. It's easier, and the most effective way without loss of life to your soldiers is messaging, propaganda. It's a big thing in the war. Sun Tzu said that the best type of war is where you get the enemy to surrender, to cooperate without mortal combat. And look at the messaging going on in America. You see it every day. In every way is the war and the messaging, the protest all over the United States, promoting illegal immigration. That's a war in America. Look at the messaging all over America. They've duped some citizens. They duped citizens into promoting their message of war, of put down your guns, allow us to come in here. Put down your guns, allow us to come in here. Messaging, that's a war, active war going on in this country. It's called propaganda. They had a protest just the other day, Knoxville, Tennessee. Let illegal people stay here. Put down your weapons. Comply. Surrender America to foreigners. Propaganda all over the United States. Look at the messaging. It's dramatic. It's forceful. It's millions of leaflets passed out all over this country. People yelling at the top of their lungs, "No us! No us! Let us come in! Let us come in!" That's a war. That's propaganda. How do you know there's a war? Propaganda. Millions of leaflets. Millions of people. No us! No border! No America! Surrender! And they got people believing that. They got people believing. I'll show you some of the propaganda. And we're taking an onslaught of it. I don't believe a word of it. I believe in protecting our borders. Do you believe in that? Are you helping an enemy evade America where your kids won't have a country? Keep going. You might get there. You might get there. There might not be America in the end times. And I'm not begging anybody. You're not making me budge. I know what's right. You can't have a country without borders. They're telling us, put down your borders. Every day it's called propaganda. It's an act of war. That's how you know it's an act of war. Donald Trump's getting that information. ICE is going out all over the country and arresting these people in mortal combat sometimes. Going on. The messaging in the mortal combat is a fight for the survival of America. That's a war right here, right now. We might be a nuclear war later. I don't know. They're taking measures. We know that from the actions. But we know, and also there's more. The act of war in America is invasion from foreigners. And they're putting out propaganda. Put down your weapons. Put down your borders. Put down your law enforcement. We're here. Let us stay here. No, I won't agree. I'm not surrendering. And I'll tell you some of the propaganda. Let's see how many people got on here. So quite a few. If you don't know the Son, then you don't know the Father. That's right. Absolutely right. So the propaganda, the false propaganda, the act of war, illegal immigration. And there's more to it than that. So I know there's a war going on in America by the propaganda, the protests going on every day. In active wars, they laid out leaflets to American soldiers. You ever heard the song 1, 2, 3, 4, what are we fighting for? Propaganda. Fighting for America. So they told American soldiers, passed out leaflets, trying to affect them mentally and emotionally. The leaflets told American soldiers in active war, passed out a lot of them. Not everybody believed them, some of them would, that while you're out here on the battlefield, your wife's at home with Johnny. While you're out here fighting for your life, your wife's at home with Johnny, somebody at stateside. You know, they're out missing their wife in the cold, rain, dodging bullets, having to kill or be killed. And the message from the enemy was, why are you fighting over here for? You ain't got nothing at home. Your wife's messing with your neighbor. A message to Americans, get them to surrender. Demoralize them. So welcome. Everybody come on board. Thank y'all so very much. Welcome. Get them to surrender. It's called messaging. It is an active, very effective, always in wars with anybody that has any sense, use propaganda. That way they don't have to die. They send a message to the other side in many different forms. Psychological, psyops is what the unit's called in America, to try to get the enemy to do what they want them to. Sometimes it's try to humiliate them, try to send a message that's sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. Try to get them to put down their weapon so they don't have to fight them and potentially getting killed themselves. That psychological warfare, that messaging, anytime you see mass messaging of deception, there's a war, an active war. And that is illegal immigration, the psyops war from the enemy. These illegals are getting American citizens. Put down your weapons, Americans. We got Americans going along with us. Let us have your country. Let us have it. Let us have your votes. Let us have it, and let us have your votes. And you'll get the country. Let us have your positions. That's what they're going after. I'm telling you. America's not mentioned in the end times. Is it an invasion from illegals? Maybe. You see the fight active today. Are we going to win that? I don't know. It's a close call. This administration's got us. Will the next one, will the propagandists convince the mass populace and people that are running for office that it's a bad thing to run for office to protect our borders and to try to get somebody elected that doesn't believe in borders and to make this a world country, the world dumping ground, a world nation and not a sovereign nation? They're taking over Ukraine with bullets, with bombs, They're trying to take over America and doing a pretty damn good job of it with illegal people and with messaging and with propaganda and with mortal combat on our streets. They're attacking ICE agents. That's mortal combat with the messaging that you are the ones at fault for protecting your country. You killed us, and we are Americans fighting for illegals, trying to flip it around. It's a war going on. America, wake up and fight it. This country is a sovereign nation. It is a huge issue, and I trust in God. But let me tell you, the threat, and if you don't think it's real, you hide in your cocoon. I'm telling you, look what's going on. Open your eyes, watch the TV, watch the messaging. This is huge. Now, I don't think nuclear war will end America. I believe this very well might. It's illegal aliens taking over the nation, the United States not being sovereign, being a dumping ground of the world. That's probably very likely to happen. You can tell by science, by looking at the patterns. Look what's going on all over America. Protests, it's propaganda, leaflets. Put down your weapons. It's not your country. Let us come over here and have it, and get American citizens convinced of that. Just like they did in a war, convincing American soldiers, your wife screwing somebody at home, excuse my language, put down your weapon, it's not worth the fight. 1, 2, 3, 4, what are we fighting for? You're fighting for America. Get up, God bless America, it's worth fighting for. And we have a democracy if we can keep it, and it's not gonna be if we get rid of ICE. No ICE, what they're saying. No border, let us here, our country. No, it's not. Over my cold, dead hands. You're not taking my country. You're not taking my country. I'm not agreeing to that. My family's at home just fine. They're being good to me. And you're not going to brainwash me. And ICE is being attacked by illegal immigrants. And they're fighting back, and they have every right to do. Let's support ICE. Help them out. You know, illegal alien, report them. Get them out of here. We're going to lose our country. It's almost gone. Let me tell you how significant this is. The worst problem in America right now is not Putin or not Iran, even though there's more to the Iran story because the nuclear threat continues. This is live, active war in America. You look at the messaging from prominent fools in America. Prominent fools in America. America will fall if they get their way. It's gone. It's gone. It's teetering right now. It's rocking. If you don't believe me, then hide and watch. Hide and watch when you take orders from a foreigner. When you get deported by them when they get in power, and you will, they'll tell you to go over to their third world country and live while they take over your stuff here. It's going to happen, I'm telling you. That's not hyperbole. That's a fact. Look what's going on. They're fighting us on the streets trying to kill our ICE agents. Got Americans fighting for them, dying for them on our soil. Got them propaganda. They ain't fooling me. I know what they're doing. They don't belong here. You got a birth certificate? Have you said pledge allegiance to the American flag? You don't belong here. Get out of here. And I hate to say it. Get out of here if you're not American. Get out of here. At the top of my lungs, more ICE. Because what's going to happen? They're going to kill us. They're going to kill us, take over our country, and send us to third world countries. America's teetering on that right now. Look at the messaging all over America. The bloodshed, trying to kill ICE agents. That's going on in the Central Intelligence meetings with Donald J. Trump talking about illegal immigration. And they're trying to be political about it, but they got to protect this country. You look at what's going on. It's such a big problem. You look at what's going on in the Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl, they had a foreigner, Rotten Rabbit's what I call him, come over here, didn't even speak English. American football had a foreigner singing another language, foul songs, to indoctrinate us into foreigners are welcome in our highest sports activity. Our American football, just turn it over to a foreign language. It's all right, it's okay, it's propaganda allowed by the National Football League, people in power in the National Football League. The propaganda, they're trying to take over America. They got a foothold, a big one, and it's deeper than this. Let me tell you that. And I just scratched the surface. I'm going to tell you some more stuff that's going on. Figure it out. I'll tell you what's going on and how I know what's going on. I mentioned about they're going to run this country, going to get elected to positions in power. How do I know that? Let me explain it to you. It's real simple. You look at what's going on, what they're doing in this country to try to protect against that. And it'll tell you what's going on. It ain't good. It ain't pretty. It's the truth. We need to wake up and fight it. Don't allow illegal immigrants in this country. Make them come the right way through our laws, vet them, and make sure they're not enemies of the state. Enemies of us. We are the state. They're not. And they're a threat. They're a threat to the sovereignty of America. And they are a threat to our voting booths. And let me explain to you why and how I know that's going on. Look at the intelligence information. Now, I could be sitting in a meeting, as I've said, and I'll repeat so you get the full effect of this, because you're sitting in a meeting with me right now. We're sitting in a meeting right now, me and you, and I'm not getting away information that the public's not privy to if you can figure it out. It's not any kind of information that's going to hurt America. It's not going to hurt America. It's going to help America. But just like we're sitting in a secret meeting with the CIA, Central Intelligence Unit, that protects the sovereignty of America, me and you, all y'all, and listen to me, I'm going to tell you what's going on, what's in that meeting. We're sitting right there, me and you sitting right beside Donald Trump and Rakoff and the Central Intelligence people that have a numerous, accurate information, better than they've ever had in the history of mankind, about the threats to the sovereignty of America that has a constitution, freedom. And the threats to that, where we could not be anymore. We could not have any freedom. We could not have a constitution. We could be ruled by other countries. And that's going on right now. Active war right here, right now. America's not mentioned in the Bible in the last days. I don't know if it's here. There's several reasons why it could not be. One of the reasons is very possible it doesn't exist. It's not here. It's been invaded by another country. United States of Russia, or it's a dumping ground for the world. And I'm going to tell you how I know that. Facts, not like Alex Jones, conspiracy theories, because I'm telling you what the government is doing. And that's not a conspiracy, that's facts. And I'm going to tell you what I think those facts mean, and you can decide for yourself. But I'll tell you, come on into the meeting that we're having with Trump, Rakoff, and the Central Intelligence people, and listen to what these people are telling you are a threat to America. And I'm going to tell you, based on what they're doing, just like we're sitting in the meeting. And this show, this information is probably some of the most pertinent, best information that I've ever given out. Because it's the sovereignty and the safety of American citizens. Something you need to be aware of what's going on. And there's something very powerful that you can do about it. One of us to be aware, sit in this meeting with me. And let me tell you about the elections. So we talked about nuclear threat, what they're doing about that, with Putin making friends with the unfriendly, bombing a nuclear facility, and still maybe going to do it again. That's a threat. The other threat is illegal immigration. ICE agents on the ground. The propaganda war is how we know it's an active war by the enemy in America, saying it's all right, lay down your weapons. Let's look at the beautiful view. We'll tell you some other threats. One of the most significant ones that's going on right now. Let's look at the beautiful view. Stay with me. I'll tell you about the threats just like we're sitting in the meeting with the Central Intelligence Agency. So thank y'all. Please don't shoot at me when you talk to me. Hey, okay? Concepts of facts. ID for everything except elections. Well, yeah. So there's the courthouse where a lot of this corruption goes on. There's the federal courthouse. And beautiful view. Thank y'all for watching. So we got a bunch of notes here. So let's talk about the threat that goes along with the illegal aliens, that there's an active battle with mortal combat and propaganda going on in the streets of America. Some Americans are joining in the fight, the propaganda, putting out propaganda for these illegals. They got them convinced to lay down your weapons, have everybody else lay down their weapons, and accept a nation full of illegal people be a dumping ground for the world. And what goes along with that is this, because of what they're doing in Tennessee, and the federal government are taking measures. That's why I know it's a threat. Now, the news media tells you, oh, it's because Donald Trump's mad and he's trying to vendetta us. That's not true. He doesn't have to be mad. He's president of the United States. He's not. He's trying to protect this country, just like I think Joe Biden did. He just wasn't very good at it. I don't think American presidents hate this country. I mean, they're at the top of this country. Why would they want to destroy it? That doesn't make sense. Some of them are just a little better at it than others, have just a little better Central Intelligence Agency. So the threat to America, what the government is doing, that's how I know what's the threat, by their actions. I don't have to listen to what's going on in the meeting to know what they're saying by what they're doing when they get out of the meetings. One of the things they're doing in America that the government is doing, based on intelligence, that's a threat to America, is they issued a search warrant just the other day in the election office in Georgia. So they're looking into election fraud. Now, people say that's Donald Trump and he's mad and he thinks he won the 2020 election. And that doesn't have anything to do with it. It doesn't have anything to do with it. The Central Intelligence Agency is putting out information that the elections in America, and starting with 2020 and getting worse in the future, potentially worse in the future, the elections in America, because of illegal immigration, because of this mortal combat propaganda war, that the elections in America are not secure. They're not decided by people that vote, by people that were born in America, American citizens. They are concerned. They're taking actions, got a search warrant, went and got ballot boxes. They're looking into election defects. And it's not, if you want to believe that, out of some type of vendetta by a sitting president that's in office that doesn't, the 2020 election doesn't affect him at all. That's water under the bridge. He's the president now. They're looking into election integrity because they don't trust elections. They've got information, and there's more to it than just that. They've got information, a threat to America, that elections weren't secure in the past, and they've got information and taken activity, specifically in the state of Tennessee, to secure our elections because it's a threat that American public officials will not be decided in the future by American voters. That there is a huge question that there is no election integrity, and that is something that is a threat to America. They issued the warrant. And in addition to that, remember what they're doing. You don't have to be in the meeting to know, hey, this is a threat. Look what they're doing. This is a threat. If somebody comes up from behind me and you're just watching a still, you can't hear the sound. They come up behind me, you can't hear what's going on, but you see me turn around, hold my fist up and get in a defensive move, then you know, you don't have to hear the sound to know that that person must appear like a threat to me because of the posture that I took against it. Simply, you can tell by my actions. And people, either I'm crazy or they did something, they yelled at me, maybe you couldn't hear it, that, hey, I'm going to kick your ass or kick your butt. Let me keep it. I'm not a preacher on a clear language level. Michelle keeps telling me to stop the foul language, so I try. So they said, I'm gonna beat you up, man. Somebody yells, you can't hear that, but you see me turn around, get in a defensive posture. You know, without hearing what they said, that they're a danger to me, or I probably wouldn't have done that unless I'm crazy, and I'm not. It's what the police accused me the other day for shooting a YouTube video, and you heard how I talked to them if you didn't watch the video. But so you know by people's actions, by their defensive posture, what they consider a threat based on verifiable reasons. And I really don't think everybody in the federal government, I don't think everybody in the federal government is crazy. They're not. They're absolutely not. Now, everybody in the news media, in the fake news is crazy. The things they try to spin for entertainment value and for views and clicks and to support their own agenda. And some of them are foreigners. They're not even from here. It's news that purports and supports foreign countries' agenda in America. I look at what I see and what I know and be a proud American. They literally are in this country holding their flag upside down in America. I mean, that ought to tell you. American soldiers fought. You see Marines fighting to put a flag up, American flag, that side up. It means something when they're in this country turning our flag upside down. So you had the dirty rabbit sending a message that it's okay to be the dumping ground of the world, support illegal immigration. This is a world United States, and it's a world government here in America. They're trying to run the sovereignty of America and make that okay. The NFL's trying to do that. I turned the channel. I'm not watching that. I'm an American, a proud American. So, voting integrity. They're concerned about voting integrity. You can tell by their posture. Let me tell you what's going on in the state of Tennessee. Look at the beautiful view. Look at the beautiful view. Let me tell you what's going on in America. Let me tell you what's going on in America, in the state of Tennessee, in our sovereign state. What's going on in America right now. So hold on board. Let me tell you. In the state of Tennessee, this is how we know what's going on by their posture, by what they're doing. So let's see if I can get this to stand up. By what they're doing, we can tell the threat in America. Now, in Tennessee, in the great state of Tennessee, election integrity, they're concerned about that. That's a threat. Let me show you how I know that, what they're doing in Tennessee. When they start passing laws that have to do with election integrity, with the threat from foreigners, and keeping it secret, then you know there's a situation going on. And in Tennessee, their posture is that they are trying to pass a bill in the state of Tennessee that puts us a secret police, and everybody's focused on the secret police. They're trying to put the Department of Homeland Security, got a bill, trying to put the Department of Homeland Security under the governor in the executive branch, where there's no oversight, where it's not law enforcement strictly. So let me show you that. And so they're trying to pass a bill. That and this has to do with election integrity. They're concerned there's a threat about election integrity. The warrants in Georgia, they're concerned about election integrity, that American elections won't be decided by Americans, and trying to shore them up. That's a threat. In Tennessee, they have a bill right now they're trying to pass, and I'll find it, that is a bill designed to elevate the Department of Homeland Security, a law enforcement agency, to the executive branch, where they won't have oversight, and make their investigations above the sunshine laws, where when they're law enforcement now, when they're conducting an investigation, you can't look at what they're doing when they're doing it. After the investigation is closed, they come to a result, then the news media or any citizen can go through a records request and find out what it was about. At the time they're doing it, you can't. But they're trying to pass a law right now, and I'll tell you why this is important. Trying to pass a law right now to move the Department of Homeland Security to the executive branch, where they have no where the public has no oversight. You can't tell what they're doing, the Department of Homeland Security. And even after the investigation is over, trying to pass a law that the records are closed forever. And the reason that is important is because, and this is how I know election integrity, foreigners getting elected office is a concern, is because of the fact that they are going to put them over elections, give them authority to investigate elections in the state of Tennessee, and make their records never accessible to the public. That's what our government's trying to do. Why? Because they're concerned, justifiably, about elections. Because they're concerned that America will be ruled and the elections will be decided by foreigners, by people that weren't born in America, and which is so that's a threat sitting in that meeting. That's what you would hear the Central Intelligence Agency telling Donald Trump, is that elections, I believe, are at risk in America, that we've lost control of our elections, that they won't be decided by American voters, American citizens, that illegal aliens are invading this country and our elections are in question. So we need to shore up our elections. So the way they've done that, the warrants in Georgia to uncover any illegals voting, uncover any discrepancies in the elections so that they can make sure that American citizens only vote in elections. In Tennessee, trying to pass a law to let law enforcement investigate elections, putting them over elections without American citizens, the news media, or illegal aliens being able to look at their investigations when they're going on, or even later, or ever. So they can conduct these investigations into any kind of election fraud, and there's no way the enemy can ever figure out how they're finding out what they're doing. Put it under the executive branch. So a threat in America, along with illegal immigration, is the threat of illegal immigrants, illegal aliens that are at war with us right now, taking over our political offices and voting and taking over our country. Bill 1881 would make all records of the office confidential, closing them to public inspection even after investigations in criminal cases are finished, apart from laws that apply to local police departments. As part of the expanded authority, the office would be allowed to secure the state's election infrastructure at the Secretary of State's request. So what they're doing is they are concerned. It's a threat. Somebody turn the volume off. Somebody says, "Hey, man, I'm gonna whoop you," and you don't hear that. You see me turn around and get in a fighting stance. You know, hey, he got in a stance. He's taking a posture of defense. There's a threat. Well, the threat, according to people in government power, in the know, in the federal government, issued a warrant dealing with election integrity. Now, people say it's because Donald Trump's mad. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it has to do with the threat of illegal aliens and the war, internal war going on right now in America, taking over our elections and voting us out, them in, making laws, and deport us and bring them in. And you'll be living in a third world country or serving illegal immigrants. They've already got power in the United States of America right now in high positions. People that don't have a birth certificate here, wasn't born here, didn't come here illegally, are already high up in administration in the Tennessee government right now, this very day, and it's going to get worse. America's not mentioned in the end times. It could be here, just not mentioned because it's not significant. It could not be here because it's taken over by illegal immigrants and our elections aren't secure. And that's one of the serious main problems that you can see the government taking active measures to fight against. Election integrity. In Tennessee, this SB 1881 is a defense and posture against a threat. The threat of illegal people voting, people without a birth certificate, taking over America at the polls, electing people in office that don't belong here. That's an elective threat. You could be sitting in a meeting with Donald Trump and the Central Intelligence Agency, or you can watch what they do and get the same information from me. So look at the beautiful view. Hello. Or you can watch what they do and be able to tell. You can watch what they do and see the threats. SB 18, right here. They're going to put the Department of Homeland Security, give them power over elections. Why are they doing that? Because they're concerned about that. I'll show you right here. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee's administration is seeking to broaden the state Homeland Security Investigation Authority and make its actions confidential, leading critics to call it a secret police. The Senate House Bill 1880 and House Bill 1639, the Office of Homeland Security would be created within the Department of Safety, even though it has existed since 2003 under executive order issued by former Governor Bill Bredesen after 9/11 attack. As part of the new bill, the Safety Commissioner can hire commissioned agents and non-commissioned personnel to that office that directs the state's Homeland Security threat to America operation and works with state, local, and federal law enforcement agencies. Separately, SB 1881 would make all records of the office confidential, closing them to the public inspection even after investigation in criminal cases are finished as departure from the laws apply to local police departments. So they're making a special police department of Homeland Security unaffected by the press. We can't find out what they're doing now or ever. And the most telling part, Department of Homeland Security, the most telling part is the fact that right here, it's expanded authority. And this is the threat. Election integrity is a threat to America. Nuclear war, an invasion. We're going to tell you some other things that are telling you what America is getting ready for at the CIA level. I'll tell you what's going on just like we're sitting in a damn meeting ourselves, you and me and Trump and Ratcliffe. You can tell by what they're doing. Their actions speak louder than words. These are their actions. They're passing these laws. Now, they got a secret police, Homeland Security. Homeland Security, securing the homeland, putting it under executive branch where you can't get any records, can't track their movements. And now when it's done, or 20 years from now, they're closed to public inspection. A journalist or anybody can't. Why are they doing that? And then the important part is they're giving them authority. And let me read you this. Give them authority as part of the expanded authority, Homeland Security. The office would be allowed to secure the state's election infrastructure. So it's a threat. Where are they walking? That's a real threat. A real threat to America. A real threat to America and Americans. Homeland Security exempt from open records at the time, after it's finished 10 years later, putting them over Homeland Security without us being allowed to find out what's going on, putting them over the election infrastructure. So that's a threat. Election infrastructure, a threat to America. They went down there in Georgia, search warrants for the elections. They just passed a law in Tennessee, trying to pass this law, putting Homeland Security, without us being able to review what they're doing, over elections. They're worried about elections in America, the integrity of elections. They're concerned, and I can tell you, I can put two and two together. Look at the active war going on the ground right now. Hello. The active war going on the ground right now is illegal aliens in this country. They're concerned about them getting access to the ballot and voting and getting in positions of power and taking over this country. May not be here. You know what they're concerned about by their activities. Now that's not the only thing. I got a lot more. We can tell what they're doing. Now, you look at the capture of the Venezuelan dictator. Now, that was about him getting illegal drugs in America and running a cartel, right? No, it wasn't. It didn't have anything to do with that. That was an excuse. It was an excuse, and I'll tell you how I know it was an excuse. It was an excuse because right now they have American oil people, oil tycoons, that are controlling the oil in Venezuela. A lot of oil over there. The invasion and arrest of the dictator in Venezuela was over oil. It wasn't about illegal drugs. That helped a little bit, but it was about getting control of the oil. The oil. If you, the country that controls the oil controls the world. So America is concerned about a war. Not just a nuclear war. We're concerned about a combat war, maybe with Russia and an invasion. They probably already got cells inside the United States right now. They're concerned about a war. And the arrest of the dictator in Venezuela was about oil, getting oil reserves, controlling the oil. Now, America, and even in Tennessee, is concerned about energy. Anytime that you're preparing for a war, for all-out war, other than nuclear war, or even nuclear war, anytime you're preparing for war, you want to control energy. The country that controls the energy has energy, is self-sustaining, self-supporting, and controls the access to other countries' access to energy and oil. You can control the world that way. You can protect yourself that way. America's concerned about war, full-scale war. Right now, in this country, they've got the oil in Venezuela. They have ships out that are stopping other countries from delivering oil to other countries. There's a country that can't fly airplanes because they don't have any oil, because America is concerned about war and trying to control the world's oil reserves and where oil goes in the world, and making sure that America has oil, because the country that controls the oil is the one that controls the world. And America, not for a bad purpose, I don't believe. We're trying to control the oil to keep the sovereignty of America. We're preparing for war. You look at, we're controlling the oil in Venezuela to control that oil from getting other places and to bring it home to America to hunker down, to get ready for war in America, World War III. I think coming up pretty soon. I don't know. I'm not trying to scare anybody. Pray, God's got us. I'm just telling you the facts, unbridled news. Now, you look at here in Tennessee. When you're getting ready for war, you get energy, and you control energy. They were going to close down the coal energy plant in Harriman, Tennessee. Remember that? 2027, shut it down. Shut her down. She's stuck in mud, you know. And Venezuela. And look at the oil reserves, or the coal plant in Harriman, shutting it down. Had a bunch of problems with it, just shut it down. But that's energy, that's power. That helps us in time of war. So there's a discussion right now in the news that plant's going to stay open. Imagine that. Surprise, surprise. America's conserving oil and getting oil and controlling the world's oil, trying to, because they're concerned about a threat of war. World War III, control the oil. That's why we went to Venezuela, to control the world's oil reserves. So those threats are active. One of them is nuclear war. Told you what they've done about that. Bombing Iran. Right now, they're talking about going back over there to protect the people, and it's about their nuclear threat. They're trying to stop a nuclear threat. That's the posture. Making friends with the unfriendly, with heinous, wicked people. And our government knows that. Rolling out the red carpet. Hey, we want to live at peace. You cause all the chaos, all you want over there. We're keeping America safe. You got a nuclear button. Making friends with the unfriendly. That's why he's been. So they're concerned about nuclear war. Look at the posture. They're concerned about illegal immigration. Look at the posture. ICE agents arresting people. Mortal combat on the streets. And also the messaging from these invaders, the propaganda war. Put down your weapons. Even got American citizens going along with the program. There's no need to fight. They're killing those people there. We need to put down our borders and let them come in and invade America. And America is concerned that we'll lose that war and our elections won't be secure. Look at the voting booths. The Atlanta, Georgia warrants Tennessee government putting a law enforcement agency without record, without public oversight, over and giving them power over to secure elections. They're worried about elections. You can hear that in the secret intelligence meeting. You can tell by their actions. So those are some significant issues going on in the state of Tennessee. America may not be here in the end times. Now, it may not be here because of nuclear war. It may not be here because of an invasion from illegal immigrants. It may not be here because of World War III, other than nuclear that America's getting ready for. It may not be here because of the Christians being caught up and the moral fabric of the country gone. And it may be here, but it might not be here in the Bible in the end times listed because it's not of significance. Israel and the Middle East is significant in the end times. America may not play a key role in that. So, saying all that stuff, and that's a lot of stuff to say, I want to say that there's several tools that we have to fight this stuff. First of all, being an American citizen. Well, that's not first, but third on this, being an American citizen. America, hold the flag upright and appreciate what soldiers did to keep this country sovereign and your birthright. I'm American. I'm proud of America. People might not believe this. I'm proud of American law enforcement. Thank you for your service. Now I'll stand up to them when they're wrong. Everybody's got their own way of dealing with things. I don't like being put down. And I won't be. I'm a fighter. Try me. And I'll use propaganda, truthful stuff. But the first weapon that we have against all this, and this goes along with voting, we the people, and I thought about this the other day, we the people, it's not we the people, because we the people are wrong. A lot of the people are wrong. We the people, in Jesus' time voted for the death of Jesus. Now that was God's prophecy that he would die, and it was a good thing, and that needed to happen, the death of Jesus Christ to pay for the sins of the world. Everybody that'll trust him, believe him in their heart. And we're a fallen world, and we're born wrong, and there's a contest that we're good. No, we're not. We need a Savior, and it's the Lord Jesus Christ. And we the people, most people, a lot of people aren't Christians, and they're not going to vote right, and they're deceived, and they're wrong about things. So don't depend on we the people voting. Depend on, and here's what I say, we the Christians, we the true followers of the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, I'm not saying we the perfect. If you're that good, then you're a heck of a lot better than me. I'm not perfect. We the Christians, we the followers of the Lord Jesus Christ that loves our enemies, even loves the foreigners, that illegal aliens that have invaded our country. But we don't have to allow them to take over our birthright and destroy our homeland for our children. We, the Christians, need to get up and vote. We, the Christians, we, the followers of Jesus Christ, right now, not the false prophets, the true followers of Jesus Christ, that believe he's the only Son of God, born of a virgin, God in the flesh here. Wasn't secondary to God, he was God in the flesh. God the Father, God the Spirit, and God the Son, all God. I don't understand all that. I believe it to be true. We, the true Christians, followers of God, need to vote. Not we, the people, vote. We, the Christians vote. We, the people, will do wrong, and we are doing wrong all across this nation, trying to destroy this country, holding the flag upside down. When I went to school, a private Christian school, we said to pledge allegiance to the Christian flag, to pledge allegiance to the United States of America flag. We, the Americans, and we, the Christians, let's go vote and protect this country, the sovereignty of this nation, or it might not be here. And so the other thing, we the people, we the Christians, is the other powerful weapon. The most powerful weapon is we need to pray. We need to pray. You say, you got all this fight and this war noise and all this propaganda, nuclear weapons, all this stuff, and you're telling me to pray. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the most powerful weapon. Amen. Praise the Lord. It helps Charles Van Morgan, going to get him into heaven. That's what I did. I prayed and accepted the Lord Jesus Christ in my heart and going to heaven. I'm not perfect, never have been, never will be. I try to be a little better every day. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. And the greatest weapon I've ever had, one that got me into heaven, is praying. That's powerful. You look, something going on in the news people don't like to pay attention to. The abduction of Nancy Gumphrey. And going on, horrific, and it's sad. And I think about it, and it's sad. But you know what? The Gumphreys have asked for prayer, and they have said that they feel your prayers in this horrific time. Their mother may be brutally murdered or at least dragged out of their house. They said that they prayed and they asked for everybody in America to pray for them. They've also asked, as common sense, for people any information, and do that. Call FBI if you have any information about her disappearance. And she's not any important than any child, but the message that I get out of that, the powerful weapon that we have against the nuclear war, against the illegal invaders, against the propaganda, against a war that's not necessarily nuclear, against our elections not having election integrity, the most powerful weapon, one of them is voting, supporting our ICE, holding our country up, saying pledge allegiance to the flag and the Christian flag, one of the most powerful weapons of all that, not the only one, not the only thing you need to do, is the power of prayer. The Gumphreys have said, through prayer. Now, nothing's changed that you can see. Law enforcement hasn't been able to do anything significant. They said that they have felt the God, and they felt the love, and they've said their mother in this horrific time where they're frightened that she might have been hurt. I mean, that's horrific. But they said they know that their mother, they don't say that they know their mother might be suffering pain. They said through the prayers that they know that their mother is feeling the love and presence of the prayers of God's people, that she's being comforted by prayer. Wow, that's kind of amazing, isn't it? Put your heart and trust in God. It's real. It's real powerful, and it really works. And so as Americans, as Christians, not we the people, we the Christians, pray. Pray to God that God will protect your family and you and the sovereignty of this nation. And this nation has more Christians and puts out the gospel more than any nation in the world. I hope it's still here. There's a reason why it's under attack. And it's because it spreads the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that's exactly what we need. So we need to pray. Pray to God. God's real. If you think I'm doing something wrong, I got a lot of haters in here. Pray for me that I'll correct that. Pray God will point it out. Not see, but y'all want people, the haters won't do that. So pray. That's the first thing we need to do is pray. And I want to show you a few things about prayer. And I'm ending this. Yeah, I'm ending on prayer because this stuff If you look at it in reality, it'll scare you to death. But if you know God's on the throne and has all power and all might, and nothing can change his hand, and you put your faith and confidence in God, then you know all's not lost. And it's not. And the Gumphreys on national television are trying to tell us all that and doing a pretty good job of it, of telling us that. So let's look at this. I'm going to mention this. Now, in Arizona, about the Gumphreys experiencing the love and presence of God's people praying for them. In Arizona, they have a death penalty in Arizona. So let me speak to and people think I'm a weak person, but I'm a Christian. He'll turn the other cheek and I will. But we have law and order in this country, and I'm speaking to the abductor. If you're listening, I hope he is. Of Nancy Gumphrey, 84-year-old lady that's feeling the comfort of prayers right now. I'm speaking to the murderer. Now you need to turn your heart right to God. Call the FBI. Tell them where their mother is, and turn yourself in and pray to God He forgives you. Because there's a penalty. But let me tell you what, if you're caught, Arizona has a death penalty. Now this is going on in the news, so I'm going to mention this. ARS 13-1105 is Arizona statute that finds the crime of first-degree murder. People typically commit this offense when they take another person's life by means of a premeditated intentional act. A violation of this is class 1 felony punishable by death. So this is in Arizona. So if you take someone's life intentionally, you get murder. You get convicted of murder. Also, intending or knowing that the person's conduct will cause death, the person causes the death of another person, including the unborn child, with premeditation. And also, murder or potential murder of Nancy Gumphrey, or let me tell you, if you haven't yet, don't kill her because they got a death penalty. You could be juiced up with stuff that'll take your life and take you out of here. And if you've done what I think you've done, I hope and pray you haven't, then you deserve it. And I hope it's done to you if you have. It don't. Because the person commits a certain felony offense, which is included in that is burglary and abduction. The person commits a certain felony offense that takes a human life, either in furtherance of a crime or in fleeing from it. So in abducting that lady, if you've killed her, you can get the death penalty. Because the death penalty eligible, if a murder is committed during kidnapping, especially if it's in a house suggesting burglary, it qualifies as an aggravated murder, making the death penalty eligible for making the offender eligible for the death penalty. So that murderer potentially he's just a kidnapper now, an abductor. But if he's killed her, and I hope you haven't, if you have done, Americans are going to find you. And the laws are in place in Arizona, and they're going to hook you up and take you out of this world where you belong. Don't do it. And justice. Hello. Justice is a wonderful thing. So I'm just saying, in closing, I'll mention Arizona's got a death penalty. You wicked, evil man that's done this horrific thing. And the people that have done that in Tennessee to these children, there's a death penalty and there's consequences for these people's evil. So Samantha Gumphrey has prayed. Let me show you her. I think I've got it here. Her prayer that she has asked people to pray for, and all across America, what she said about prayer. And it has helped those people, and it will help America and help this country. And is our greatest defense, and also don't depend on the masses. Don't depend on the masses. We, the people, depend on God and vote. So that's exactly what we need to do. And I've given you information just like we were sitting in a CI meeting with John Ratcliffe, the real threats to America. If you're just joining me, I've talked about the real threats to America. The wars going on and all the circumstances that we need to be concerned about. And let me see if I can find Savannah Gunther's prayer. But basically, she said that she appreciated our prayers. Her and her family felt our prayers and love, and that also she knew that her mother did in helping in that circumstance. Let's see how many people we got on here. And thank you all so very much for listening. May God bless you. I pray this channel is going live. It won't give you won't show up on your channel unless you like and share. And if you like and share, it will and subscribe. It'll show up on your channel when you subscribe to it. It'll so you'll be aware of it every day, because it won't automatically show up on your channel. And tomorrow we're going to go into maybe where we the people, talk about we the people and why it should be we the Christians that support the elections. We the Christians vote, and we the Christians show up, because we are the people that even love our enemies. And let me recap some. Savannah Gunther said, I just want to say first of all, so much for all of the prayers and love that we have felt, because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers. So instead of worrying about her mother suffering because we prayed, she's feeling the prayers, and that God is lifting her even in this moment, in this darkest place. Wow. I mean, that's pretty good. So prayer, I mean, I think it works pretty effectively. And I think this will come to a good conclusion. That's a pretty good statement for prayer in somebody's darkest time. Their mother is going through this horrific thing. And I'll see what she said here. Wow. She said, I just want to say first of all, thank you so much for all the prayers and the love that we felt, because we believe that somehow, some way she's feeling these prayers, and that God is lifting her even in this moment and darkest place. Wow, that's powerful. She's feeling the prayers of God's people. And so prayers are first, and then voting, and then vote. We the Christians vote. We the Christians. And vote, not we the people. And let me recap the stuff that I just talked about. The death penalty in Arizona that covers murder during the course of a burglary and abduction, and also similar to us meeting with the CIA director and Donald Trump and all those people, John Ratcliffe, just like we're in the meeting. If you want to know the real threats, don't listen to the speeches, watch their actions. Intelligence meetings don't run on feelings, they run on priorities. So government actions reveal what they fear the most. Prove all things, hold fast that which is good. That's on 521. Action versus propaganda. So we covered actions reveal priorities, propaganda shapes perception. The message tells you what they want you to accept. Accept illegal aliens taking over the country, the world dumping ground. The actions tell you what they're preparing for. And they're preparing to take over this country and take over our elections, what they're preparing for. And so there are 5 threats, I think, that are important. We're sitting in that meeting with them. By their actions, we know nuclear threat, the border sovereignty, security, election integrity, and energy independence, preparing for war. And there's also a tech threat, deception. The Bible talks about in the end times that people will be deceived. The nuclear threat, Iran, North Korea, Russia alliance posture against America, military planning foreign policy that tracks this constantly. If its leaders act like it's serious, it's serious. You shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, and we've heard them in combination more than ever in the history of man in the latter part of this age. What's propaganda today is normalization, nothing to see here, just accept it. Repetition changes what people tolerate. Outrage, fatigue wear you down until surrender mentally. And border sovereignty, a nation without borders is like a man without self-control. Sovereignty isn't hatred, it's survival. If mass interest is treated as normal, identity and law collapse. The propaganda, the oldest trick, make the public feel guilty for defending itself. Labeling normal concerns as evil shuts people up. Sun Tzu idea, win before the fight by breaking morale. What they're trying to do, break our morale. The fear of man bringeth a snare, Proverbs 29:25. They're not getting anything over on me. I don't agree with the illegal aliens invading this country. Voting integrity. Voters don't count, citizens don't matter. Integrity is a foundation of legitimacy. They're taking measures to shore up our elections because it's a threat. Foreign influence, domestic manipulation equals chaos and destruction. A false balance is abomination to the Lord. It says that in Psalms. They got a false balance on our elections. Foreigners are taking over, getting positions of power. Tennessee Homeland Security. When government builds power without oversight, that's a red flag. Executive power and secrecy, closed records. And they put them over elections because that's a threat. Energy and war footing. War runs on energy. Nations fight for fuel, always have. Self-sustaining energy, endurance, and conflict. That's what America's prepared for war. The situation in Harriman, plant closing down. They're not closing it down. They want more energy. The invasion of Venezuela to capture the dictator. It's about the oil, about controlling the oil to protect America. Watch moves around oil, plants, and strategic supply. There's treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise. AI, modern threat. They know more than ever. Satellite signals, data. The inside information age is here. So when policy shifts suddenly, it's often responding to something real. And so they turn what Christians do. Our weapon is not panic. Our weapon is prayer. Prayer to the Almighty God. It's helping Nancy Guthrie, isn't it? That's what the family is saying. What a testimony. What a testimony. Prayer. That's our first weapon. The other one is not relying on we the people. We the people in Jesus' time voted to crucify him, to crucify Jesus and release a criminal. We the Christians need to vote. Prayer moves, strengthens heart. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. The turn, our weapon is not, and our weapon is prayer, discernment, courage, truth. Prayer moves outcomes and strengthens heart. Prayer doesn't comfort, it changes things. It don't only comfort, it prayer changes things. Elijah prayed that it would stop raining. It stopped raining. Prayer stopped rain. Prayer could stop the invasion of America. Also, Reject propaganda, pray, and vote like a Christian. That's my final thing to say. Reject the propaganda, pray, and vote like a Christian. First, pray. Reject the propaganda. Don't rely on either people. Vote. Don't be silent. Don't surrender mentally. Stay anchored. And that's what we need to do. Thank y'all so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this enlightening information, this CIA secret intelligence information, where I presented you what you would hear in a briefing sitting right beside Donald Trump, the threats to America. Go back and review the video and listen to it again. And then remember the tactics that we can use to keep this country safe and sovereign and keep America here in the end times. And thank you all so much for joining me. Hit the subscribe button. And if you can, contribute to the channel. Had a lot of people here to us. If we got any comments that we can understand and read. If you have any questions, let me know. I appreciate it. Thank you all so very much for joining me. I appreciate your time. This is Charles Van Morgan. You've been listening to The Real News. This has been brought to you by Safe Taxi for now. We may close the business down. I'm not sure. If you need a ride in Knoxville to or from, then let me know. It's sponsored by Safe Taxi, my business. So thank y'all so very much. So we got some fans right there. Some dogs barking at us. I love animals. Look at the beautiful view. Beautiful sunlight. We got 76 likes. Let's see if we can get 80 likes before we get off here. We've almost been on here for 2 hours. And look at the beautiful view, the beautiful sunlight. And thank y'all so very much for coming. Let's see if we got any questions. Tell them, telling them. Outdated, Charlie. Outdated. Sleep what lies. I don't know what they're saying there. I don't know what that is. Let's see what some of the questions are when we first got on. Copy some of the questions here and I'll try to answer them later. And like I always try to say, God loves you and I do too.